So are we
Yeah.
expecting to see yellow today?
I hope so because
Okay.
I like to I have questions for him
Yeah.
about how to speak. I've been very busy with trying to code stuff but I'm making good progress. So
Okay.
nice. The nice thing I want to directly show. I'm recording it for Yella. But can
Okay.
you hear? Hold a second.
Sure.
Can you hear that? The clicks. Hold a second. Maybe it keeps stopping, but it's quite loud.
Okay.
So, and it worked nicely. I mean, I was very impressed how that works.
Okay. Good.
And many other small things I changed, but this is
So that key
yeah. Hold a
the key
second.
clicks is just a mode. It's a mode in the API, the M5 unified.
Not a. Huh? What do you mean a mode?
Like in other words, did you have to do anything special, or did you just use something from
No,
the M5 API?
no. Basically, I asked AI to make it for me. It's not that hard.
I
No,
have,
no, no. You'd be surprised. It was quite impressive how we can do that. It asked
yeah,
me what frequency I want to use, how do you want to have the beep, and it came up with something that I really didn't like. I said, "Can you
yeah,
change it?" I said, "Yes, no problem. Can you make it consistent? So if you switch it off, it stays off or on, and if you
yeah,
I can just switch it off."
yeah. My only misgiving is that that main loop, the Arduino main loop that we're using,
Not
might
using.
get, huh?
No, we're not using that. It's a separate worker doing that. It's a sound manager,
Oh no,
special
no,
part of it.
that's still part of the Arduino loop.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so
so
let's see. But I compared the measurements
yeah,
from one with this version and the one without it, and the same measurements at least for
okay.
the pulse counting. That was the same.
Right. Okay. Well, for pulse counting, what's happening is that the ESP32 is using its a hardware counter, and periodically the firmware will go and drain that counter. We'll just pick up the count as it is and use that. So that's not really part of the counting. Um, what I'm talking about is, if you, in your Arduino sketch, you have setup and loop.
Mhm.
Well, all our firmware runs in loop, right? And I'm just worried. I think we had a concern about that a little while ago, that the loop was just taking too long and starting uh, to affect some of the timing. I think that was a consideration. So I don't know. I just want to make just. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying
No, no.
be aware that that is a consequence of having too much code.
Yeah, but that's why I also want to check with Yella about it. This is just a test version, and it's just a separate brand, so it should be fine, I think, for the moment. And
Okay,
for
sure.
I mean, it writes to the SD card. The screen is responsive,
Yeah.
so I thought it looked okay. But
Okay, sure.
I can imagine your concern.
Yeah. Okay. So I had a nice Friday
Yeah,
afternoon.
that
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead, Michael.
I, w I was just saying, yes, the M5 update command that is in the loop,
Mhm.
that yeah, you're right. That there are a few things that it does. One is it monitors the buttons for button presses or screen presses, I should say. And the other thing is it updates the sound. And if
Mhm.
that loop is not tight enough, um, you might be losing things.
Mhm. But how to check the
Okay.
timing for that?
Uh,
Yeah, a good example is in my code,
Mm.
the code for the test bed. I just put um, I just put something around the loop. It tells me what the
I
loop
remember.
uh,
Yeah.
average time through a loop. and peak time through a loop and shortest time through a loop. Just
Oh,
a
nice.
little code at the top and the bottom
Yeah,
of the loop.
yeah, I
Hmm.
saw that. Yeah.
So you can turn that on in the settings. Yeah.
Okay.
So I will check that. That's a good point. I can maybe we don't have it implemented
Yeah.
not yet. I think in the
Yeah.
M5.
I'll
Sorry,
give you
in
an
the
yeah, I'll give you an yeah, I'll give you an example of where when I found an issue using that, and that was that you are writing when you're doing logging, you're writing the ublocks
Mhm.
log, you're writing the KML log, and you're writing
Sure.
the CSV log at the same time. Now, um, what I do is the SD library allows you to have 5 open file ports
Mhm.
at one time. So I opened up the file ports off, and then they close when you either exit that app or stop the log and then start another log. Um, but then I went and looked at your code, and the way it works is when you're logging, you create the log file in the beginning, and then when you want to log, for example, when you're logging in the Zen, anytime you want to enter a log, it opens the file, appends the and sends a string, and then closes the log file. So I tried doing that in my code, and the loop times skyrocketed to the point of like you were getting some loop times of 30, I mean, zero point 0.3 seconds, zero point 0.4
Hmm.
seconds. So I
Mhm.
couldn't do that. So I went back to the old way.
And you think we can implement the old way maybe also in our code in the Zen code? Or
And it's you're seeing long loop times, and you wonder how many times you get through the loop per second or whatever. And it's one of the tools you have if you need to shorten the loop time.
Okay.
okay,
Yeah. No, it's just a way
Okay.
of that's actually a fairly good. That would be a good exercise to go through to see how much leeway we have or how much overhead we have
yeah.
before we bang into the ceiling.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
And did you also, Michael? Did you also see the change I made for air? Louis and me have been communicating in the channel about make a switch for only for air for the GPS.
Yeah. I didn't look at the implementation though. Followed the your conversation on Slack,
Mhm.
but I didn't look at the implementation. No.
You think Louis and Michael, you think it makes sense that if we switch it to this other mode, we can still record at high altitude? Because that was my main worry for Peter and Andy. They both couldn't record at high altitude. I felt like it's not so
Yeah.
nice.
I would say keep for normal case basically for everything except flying in commercial aircraft, commercial airliners at at high altitude, high speed. Keep it still at the default what they call portable, right? So it tops out at 12,000 meters, which I mean,
That's
was it
enough. Yeah.
yeah, Mount Everest is 8,000
It's-
meters, so I think
yeah.
we're okay. Um,
Mhm.
but and then that gives us consistent results. I'm just worried, but I mean, since we're still trying to troubleshoot why we get these sudden jumps in our position fixes, we're still trying to troubleshoot that. I'm just not ready for one more variable.
That's true. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw the bunnies you mentioned, and yeah, I agree with you.
yeah,
Just keep the main branch, keep them
Right.
clean. But I
yeah,
want to just try this out and see.
yeah.
And maybe
Now,
we get good result from that too. We don't know.
yeah, yeah. But for for Peter and Andy, I would suggest just make a custom
Yeah,
M5 burner for them
I
and
did
say here, if,
already.
yeah, and then tell them to use that. And normally, it should not make any difference to them other than they have this extra screen that they can turn on. So I'm not too sure why I mean, the Nano. doesn't have any problems with that.
No.
But I guess because uBlocks is trying to um, the dynamic model, I think, has to do with how they do some some sanity checking of their position fixes, right? So if the acceleration is greater than 2g, they would somehow mark it as invalid or whatever it is, uh, except if you're in dynamic mode, air
Mm.
4G, then it would pass the check. But also, like I say, like Michael and I agree, this is a well-documented black box. We don't really know what it actually means because their algorithm is a secret sauce.
Mhm.
So we're basically back to guessing.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Well, I
saw
mean, that's
also.
the whole
Yeah.
point of that CSV file in the test bed is that, yeah. I loaded Louis, I loaded yours in to whatever that LibreOffice tool is, and
uh,
I hid some columns that didn't really matter,
mhm.
and you could see where things start breaking down, and I'm surprised they're not hitting, not setting, hey, we're invalid location much sooner than they, in many cases when it should be.
Mhm. Can
Yeah.
can we detect ourselves, or is it only in the U block they detected it invalid? Because now we have
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We'll put a filter on top of it.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
put a filter on top of it,
Yeah. I haven't had really haven't
right?
had a chance to look at my own log file. I don't know if you saw in the Slack, I kind of zoomed in on one little area where I knew exactly where I
Yeah.
was, right? There was a
Mhm.
crosswalk, and it just looks like it just jumped north and
So,
then jumped back. So that would be something. And the other reason that spot is interesting is because I started off with this great big open air, the Nathan Phillips Square is a just big, huge open area where they have, concerts and stuff. So that gave me, like a clear sky, free from lots of buildings, so that it would be establish a good reference point, and then started walking south onto Bay Street, which is, I mean, if you walk down Bay Street just south of City Hall, it's just like that, right? There's buildings on both sides, and they're 40 stories or whatever. So that's really, I mean, this was a stress test. I mean, I think that's about the worst urban environment. Um, One thing I was surprised is, um, Toronto still has streetcars, and at the intersections, like you have the wires
mhm.
crossing, but it's the wires are held up, like from posts and buildings, right? Basically, so it
Yes.
basically
Yeah.
gives you a mesh above you, right? And I lingered there for a few minutes, waiting for streetcars to come by, and as they jump from one grid to another, you get a spark. So
Mhm.
that was one of the things I wanted to test, and it doesn't look bad. Right? You can see the little spots where I was kind of walking around trying to look like I was, some sort of
Right.
Russian spy observing things. Um, so it's So that seems to be all right. But it's the urban canyons. And then, like frankly, I was really trying to abuse it by going in and out of buildings and see
Mhm.
what happens. Also had a very nice lunch at St. Lawrence
Oh,
Market.
that's
So
good.
Right.
But going in and out of buildings, that surely will
Nice.
do it. I mean,
Now, you know, so can you
so
clarify
yeah.
something, Louis? When you
Yeah.
s- when you say you didn't magically transport from Toronto to New York, are you saying that this is in this one particular time you didn't transport, or that you have never magically transported?
that's an interesting point.
No, it's
No, physically, not mentally.
physically. Yeah, no, physically, no. That would be interesting. But
Physically, yes.
yeah, and the back in my days when I was extremely geeky and into science fiction and had a subscription to Scientific American, started speculating on what it would take to teleport. And it gets really messy because energy gets involved. Plus, the Earth moves around the sun, and the sun moves around the galaxy. So pinpointing your location, it would be a little
Right.
bit trickier than the show on Star Trek.
Yes, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Good,
nice
Good point.
little tangent there.
good, good.
Yeah,
But
sorry about that.
no, the
I'm good
jump
at that.
was hold a second. The jump was only one point, I think, and then
Oh,
jump back.
there was many. Oh, you mean the one on
Yeah, one to
that I
New
posted?
York. Yeah,
Uh,
because I couldn't see in the KLM file.
okay. Yeah, I think it was just at one point,
Um,
or
if
well, let's go back to the. Let me just fire up QGIS here.
But Michael want to say something.
Yeah, go ahead. While I fire up QGIS.
no, I was saying that when I was looking at the log file, um, I was seeing sometimes movements of 80 meters a second. Um, so it wasn't a single jump point, but it was a progression of losing a 3D fix down to a 2D fix. Um, the the DOP number shot up to from like 2 and 3 to like 16. So it was a good stress test, and I'll be interested to try to. I wish you could, tie the two together. That to add a map to the when you look at it by second, be interesting to see from a map view where that point is.
Okay, well, I'm just going to share my screen here. Share. Where's my
Okay.
Mr. Zoom? Where's Mr. Zoom? There we go. Desktop 2. There we go. And share. So this is the jump that I was talking to originally. So basically, the walkway. You see this these red dotted line. Can you see the cursor, the little hand?
Yes, I see them. I see
Okay,
them.
so that's the crosswalk,
Yes.
but it's not just a single jump, as you can see here, right? Uh, I don't have the points marked. I just dumped the KML file into QGIS and then loaded up the OpenStreetMaps. But you can see where there's little bends in the path, that these are multiple points.
Point. That's true.
Yeah. So it's not just a single jump. And then
Right.
so I remember crossing here and then crossing under, this building here. This building here has a little bit of an overhang. So you can basically, like, the entrance is under here somewhere, and this is kind of like like an open. So and then in here it's as I described it, that urban canyon. So these two, these two buildings on either side are huge. So
But it's still holding up there, looks like.
it's still holding up, but it's getting fooled by the multipath or by the reflections, right? In other words, I wasn't walking down the street. Now, the other thing we have to keep in mind is that do the WGS84 coordinates that are computed by the GPS module correspond to the actual coordinates of OpenStreetMaps. So yes, they correspond to a certain point, but maybe not. So
I was wondering, can you in the KLM file, can you set in QGIS, you can set the, how do you call them, the markers of the points. If you go to the layer options, I think you can set that. You can show the point. Go to the layer
properties,
options somewhere.
symbols,
Yeah.
default
If you go
symbol.
to the label,
Ah,
Oh,
there we go. Wow,
that's
this
the
kind of,
line.
yeah, that's the line.
Now you want to get
Okay.
to the other one, on the left side, to the labels.
Labels, labels,
No, you
labels.
close this one. Close this
Okay.
one. And then on the left
And
side, there's labels.
there we go. There we go. No
And then you can the
labels.
label, you can set a single label, and then you should be
And
able to select anything from the database. I'm not sure, I didn't check yet. But if you go to
yeah.
the text sample, above it, the value, more
Oh, I
up, more
see.
up, more up, more up value. And then if you go to the right side, go
Oh, I
to,
see. Okay, I'll play around with that. Formatting text. This one? No. Font.
no, on the right side, there somewhere. Yeah. If you go to the value, it gives now the name. And if you go to the right side,
Right, you
to
mean
the right
this
side
thing?
on the screen, there's a small, yeah,
Oh, yeah,
there you
yeah.
can get the
Timestamp.
timestamps. You can show the timestamp, you can show anything of it, what's in the database.
Let's try the timestamp just for fun.
Yeah. And apply, and then it should show up.
Uh, I don't think it recognizes, it might not recognize the timestamp. Well, yeah, let's
Hmm.
try it. Apply. Okay. No, we're not seeing it. No,
Uh,
this is something I'm going to play around with. I'm
yeah,
just going to
play
have to learn
around
how.
because it should be able to, because it's
Yeah,
basically in the database. So
yeah. But one of the things I wanted to do is it layer? Uh, zoom to layer. Where is it?
yeah,
Zoom to layer. There it is.
the
Nope.
more somewhat more up, I think. Zoom to layer.
No, it was right at the top. Yes. So this is the jump to
Yeah.
upstate New York. Um, uh, which is interesting because if I stand on the hill here, I can actually see features on the other side of the lake. Anyway, again, that wasn't just a single jump. It looks like a single
No,
jump to here,
here and
but
then
then
back is different.
back to here. Um, right. Or there's also that single jump here to Toronto Island. Well, it's a single jump and then another little spot, and then it jumps back. Um, now, here's just to give you an idea where I was going. Esplanade, where's Front Street? Uh, that's King Street. Yeah, Front Street. So basically, I was walking from this is Market Street. Okay, so where am I here? Just trying to orient myself. So basically, it came out of Church Street, York Street, Bay Street. Yeah, here. Basically, train station here and Bay Street. So basically, you can see my path as I walked out. This is interesting is I didn't go here.
No,
Um, I
crossing the
basically,
tracks.
well, it's the concourse is underneath the tracks. The tracks go
Ah, okay.
over top of the station. Um, and basically walking, see, so I'm walking along Front Street West, so you can see that it just goes completely crazy. Um, this building, if you want a building that's going to give you give you multipath reflections, this one, because all
It looks
the
like it is.
windows, the windows
Parallel angle back then.
are the first of all, yeah, you have that angle, and second of all, they're gold, so they are
Oh,
actually probably RF. They use some sort of a process to put gold into the glass.
mm.
I mean, for a bank, it totally makes sense, right? The Tower of Gold. Uh, anyway, so anyway, along Front Street, and here's I was just noodling around, having lunch, and there's the St. Lawrence Market here. So here's where I stopped. Like there's a little bench outside. So you can see it just gets completely fooled. Um,
Really, it's
and
very messy there.
yeah, well, I was just basically just sitting at a picnic table having my lunch, but also inside the
Yeah, inside but
in
outside
in
it should pick up something.
yeah. So inside there's some really big skylight windows around along the roof, so it probably still picks up some signals. Then I went for a walk here. You can see, and then here's that King Street and Church. That's where it was the
The
I can
lines
zoom in.
crossing.
This is where the streetcar net, if you want to think of that, right? And that's me lingering here. So that's reasonable, right? And then I walked across. And then it just goes crazy again. So now the one time I did try to nano roughly in that area, I got the jumps around just as badly, right? So multipath, I'm not too sure if at the RF level we can detect that happening because the signal is nice and strong. It just arrives a little bit later.
Wrongly, yeah.
Right? It arrives a little bit later because instead of a direct path, it took an indirect path to come back down. So that's where we have to apply a filter to say, hey, wait a second, we were going, like step 1, 2, 3, whoops, jump. So now we either knock out that jump or extrapolate, see what's coming next if it comes right back. But in this case, it didn't come back. It just kept wandering around till I went north on Yonge. So there it is. So sorry, that's Victoria. North on Yonge, and you can see. And even then, I was walking on this side. I was across, and across the street. And I was nowhere near inside this building, right? So again, there's some, anyway, so you can see we can't win here. And this is where like your cell phone cheats and asks the cell tower where it is. So, but what we can do is do something about the big jumps.
I think so, because the acceleration is completely different there.
Yeah. I mean, the next step is to start using the what they call RTK, real-time kinetics, and do inertial navigation. But that's
so
I'm not there yet. Yeah, go ahead, Michael, please. I think we lost Michael.
I'm not sure. Maybe he just switched off the video.
Yeah.
He's still there. So.
No, I mean, so the iPhone and various phones and hello?
Yeah, you having trouble hearing you.
Yeah, you're breaking up, Michael.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now okay.
Hello?
Yeah, now
Hello?
yes. Now
okay.
Yes. No, I lost him again.
Hello?
Hello? Yes, we can
you
hear
hear me?
you.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. Now we lost him.
Yeah, I think we get him. Michael, we're getting you just long enough for you to say hello, and then you disappear again. Oh, we lost him completely.
Yeah, we lost him completely. So this makes sense. So while we are together, so I want to check what do you need from for your paper or for your presentation?
Basically, proofreading, making sure I know what I want to write, and I'll probably send out a draft this evening. It'll be, I guess, early morning for you.
Okay.
And if you could proof it and make sure that I'm not saying anything that misrepresents Safecast. I want to maintain the integrity of the project, not appear, that whole pro data, not anti, not for, just pro data, transparency. I don't know how aggressive I want to be. I mean, I was looking at Asby's slides from the IAEA meeting, was it back in 2018 or something like that, uh, where like trust is not a renewable resource. That was like kind of in your face. Um, so uh, I don't know how aggressive I want to be about that, because genuinely what I want to ask is of the commission is for them to establish a dashboard of their radiation counts, their tritium leaks, their hydrazine leaks, all right? The non-radiological stuff, right? Because they use
Yeah.
hydrazine as a corrosion prevention in the water, in the cooling water. So, but it's a poison. So that kind of stuff, so that you don't have to dig through their website to get at some report that was published quarterly, right? And so what I'm asking
You want to
for
have basically real-time dashboard from them.
real time or near real time. For instance, I think for tritium in water you can't have a real time because it's not like gamma rays in air. Like
Sure.
you have to have a wet lab and all that, right? So let's say a daily, right? Okay, like, but
Yeah,
I can
that's
just
fine.
go there, and basically put that. This is the only opportunity in under the Canadian Nuclear Safety Act to have serious public input. It's in fact, like it's quite shameful from the point of view of the Canadian government that the other reviews are basically between staff, between the proponents or the operator, OPG, and CNSC staff, and the public is invited to attend, but not necessarily present. And so, and of course, they're asking for a 30-year license, which means that this opportunity that we have now to
Only now.
apply is now, and then shut up for 30
Yeah.
years. So right now it's the only time when they grant a license, they have a license condition handbook, which lists all the conditions for granting that license. And the ask, right, what I'd like the commission to do is put in this real-time monitoring as
Yes.
part of the licensing handbook.
Yeah, I think that's a
So
very good thing. Yeah.
yeah, and for that,
And even if possible, an independent like checking.
well,
That will be maybe too much, but you can always ask.
yeah, you can ask. Yes, it's true. Or maybe that monitoring would be administered by, let's say third, like a group of third
Third
parties.
party.
So
Yeah.
municipal government, the Emergency Measures Ontario, whoever, right? And and members of the public. I don't know, something like that.
And most important, the members of the public, because they want to
Yes,
know. They don't have any interest in things go. To hide things. They want to know.
that's right.
That's all.
Exactly. So,
And there
okay.
shouldn't be any corporate teams in there, because they have their own interest.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So,
Okay, good.
even
Good.
even municipalities have their own interest because they
Sure.
get some tax revenue from OPG.
Oh yeah,
Or,
yes. We know that from Fukushima too.
Yeah, they get property taxes, they get
Back in the
and
building and other things, and then
well, it's not so much that it's because it provides good, it's good jobs, right? It's well-paying jobs, and they want to make sure that employment stays it out because that helps out, like their
the community. I
yeah,
understand.
and there's a boosterism, right? So it's like, yeah, nuclear is great. Durham region powers Ontario. The whole, like yay, kind of, So there's a lot of that. So yes, members of the public, definitely. And if they don't do it, well, we're going to do it anyway, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Independent of that.
Yeah,
They can be
whether they
can
do
be
it or
fine
not.
with it. True.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just, I mean, if you look at the Save Dnipro effort,
Oh yeah, so
that's
good. Yeah.
complementing or supplementing what's already being done by the authorities, right? If you go
Or
to
even replacing it, because
yeah,
sometimes the government didn't have data coming and they could supply
exactly,
the data. It's not. I
exactly.
mean, this is yeah. By the way, we have about 2 minutes left.
2 minutes.
Michael,
Okay, so
You want to say still something or?
your microphone is muted, by the way, Michael.
Yeah,
There it is.
No, I just think when you start looking at that log file for your walking trip, for your trip to Toronto, that you'll see that there's some very clear things we can use to, and number of satellites used for navigation. You'll see those numbers just drop. Well, the DOP you'll see shoot up from like 2, 3, all the way up to 15, 16. You'll see precursor indicators. Again, it's the trick is knowing when you're back. But I think we'll be able to build a filter that will filter, or actually we'll just nullify them, meaning we don't know where we are until
Okay.
we have something, and we have to do this is what this is the baseline of what we need to have a valid location.
Okay, great. Anyway, we're
Okay,
just
good.
about out of time.
Yeah.
My priority this week is to
And
fix,
that's it.
yeah, to fix the Zen and do the CNSC submission, and then I'll start jumping into the QGIS. So,
Okay, good. Good.
all right, have a good week.
Yeah. Okay, you too. You too, Michael.
Right.
Okay.